Okay, at the end of the last video, we had the showtime showing up, but we don't like the format. This is the format that we get. This is called ISO format, and the format we want is much more like this. Well, some of these things are easy to fix and some of them aren't. Getting the order in a different way isn't a problem. We can just do some fairly straightforward string manipulation to do that. We can just take out chunks and put them in different orders. So for example, you can see we've got 31st January 2007, and I can get those bits out here. So that corresponds to 31st, that's the day part. That's February instead of January, and we can pull that out. Not only that, we can turn it into a string with a fairly simple lookup. Let's just take a look at manipulating this thing here. So the string I'm starting with is d.date. And I can put my target in place. So target date, this is the format of the string that I want. I can just pull bits out of that. So if I wanted to start with this bit here indicating the day, that's a simple string manipulation. I can just count the number along. So starting at 0, that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it is characters number 8 I want. So I can go d.date dot substring, that's 8 and 2. Now there are two substrings in JavaScript and I can never remember which one is which. Let me just check. So mdn substring, substring for JavaScript. So one of them gives you the start position and the end position. One of them is, yeah, that substring that I'm using, and I want substra is the one that does what I'm looking for here. So substra says starting at character 8, pick 2 out, whereas substring asks for the start index and the end index, which would mean I'd have to do 2 plus 8, which is just too much maths for me at the moment. So let's change that into TDT. Let's put a little bit more on. Let's put the year in as well. So I'll put in plus. Okay, how would I get the year? Looking at this, the year is the first bit, so that's character 0 to 4. So I could say d.date dot substra 0, 4. Okay, so that should give me the day and the year, and let's put in a space as well. So I'll just put in a literal space, and I can pull bits out of strings and put them back together again. What happened there? Write that out, reload. Can you see it's got that and that? Next bit, I guess, would be to get the January out. Now that's a bit more difficult. How do I get January out of this? Well, one way to do it, if I had a list of months, so if I said month list equals, and so this is a list, a hard-coded list. I could make that Jan and Feb and March, and I can't be bothered to do any more. So if I did that and it went on obviously with all 12 months, then I could pick that out and I could put that in place. So I could say, look up in the month list. I could put a link in, another space there. I could index that by the month that I'm going to pull out of, oh, I've lost it, I've lost the D string. Should be able to get it, have a look at the format. I need to do this to count characters, so I'm going to reload and look at the network tab and look at my data. And the date time is here, so the month there, that would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So from character 5, d.date dot substra 5, 2, that pulls out the date. Really, that should be a number, so if I do parseInt, that'll turn that into a integer. Okay, because this is a string and parseInt makes it into an integer. And so I should be able to get the fab out there. Okay, that went wrong. Let's take a look. Line 7, well, where else? That's the line I was working on. 7. What have I done wrong? Oh yeah, there should be a plus here because I'm building up a string, so that's a variable part and that's a fixed part, that's a variable part and there's a fixed part and so forth. write that out, reload. Okay, and it's got March. Oh, God, I remember. All right, yeah, all right, this is weird. It's February, but this is going to be an integer. 0 is January. No, in this list, 0 is January, 1 is February, and this starts the numbers from 1. Those pesky humans, they insist on numbering their months from 1. So let's put in the fake month that I always thought this should be. No such. So the first month, the 0th month is called no such. And hopefully that won't crop up too often. 12th of never. Yeah, all too young to remember Donny Osmond, I'm sure. Okay, there we go. So that's working out, and that's February, and it's okay. It's okay. We could get away with this, but it's a bit ugly. It really is. I'm not liking these spaces. This thing is getting all too long. Let me try and tidy it up a bit. Let me put in, so I'm going to make this, what I'm going to do is make this a list. So that's date. I'm going to take out these things, separating them. This is just cosmetic, really. Okay, so I'm going to make up a list of the components, and these are space separated. Okay, so I can just build up the components, work on them one at a time. So I've got 3 of the components now. I need a few more. I've got to get that pesky Tuesday there. That's going to be difficult to get. I've got to get those components up, and I've got to put them together, and that's made up a list. But I want TDT is now a list, and I'm going to say TDT dot join space. So join is a function that you get in most languages, and you certainly got it in JavaScript. What join does, it takes a string of, a list of strings, and it just jams them into one string, putting a space in between them, and often you want a comma, usually a space for one. Let's just look at what a comma does. So I can put in a comma, and it's quite a handy way to format a list. You can see they look like full stops, but they are commas. Let's put commas in between them. The format I'm targeting has just got spaces between them, and so that works. And I can do all sorts of different things here. One of the things I could do, for example, is that this month list, I've created it, I've given it a name. I don't like the name much, and because it's only ever used once, I don't think it deserves a name, that list of months. So what I can do is just remove the name, and I'm going to index that list directly. So what I've got is an array here that's being indexed by a number, and I don't bother giving it a name. I'm that dismissive of it. Now, it might need brackets around it, but I think that'll probably work on its own. Reload. Yeah, that worked fine. So you can see here what I've got is an anonymous array, and I'm indexing it directly, and I never even bother to give this thing a name. So I could go through and I could fix this up, but I don't like this. So this code here is a bit clunky. We're getting this Tuesday out. I see I want that Tuesday. That would be a heck of a job. There's no easy way to get that out unless I go for a thing called locale time. So pretty much all languages have got some kind of date type, and in JavaScript, date type var date. This is going to be a date type date. I'm running out of things to call things. This is a date type date, and you say new date. Okay, so if I use new date like that, it'll give me today's date. If you and so all of this stuff here can be on DTD, TD, and this one here, TD, and this one here. Okay, so now I should be getting information about today's date. Let's have a look. Reload. No, didn't like that. DTD substra. Okay, that's a new date. And if I say dot to string, Okay, nah. Okay, it's not going to work what I was planning on doing. Let me just show you how this works. Let's take this line and paste it in here. Okay, so DTD is a date and it's giving me today's date of the minute. Now, the way this constructor works, it's a constructor, you know that because it says new, and this will take a string and it'll take loads of different formats. I could, for example, say, I'm pretty sure I could say 27 Feb. Now let's have a different date. Let's go for 26th of Feb, 2017. I think it'll take that. Yep, that seemed to work. It'll certainly take the kind of string that we're given, which was the ISO format. So the ISO format we were given in here. So if I take this string, copy that. So the constructor here will definitely cope with that. Let's just check it. Okay, so I'll put in that string we were given, DTD. That worked fine. Okay, so that is a thing of date type, and there's a fantastic function called locale time to local string. That's the one I want. Okay, now the way this works, we can specify the language we want, which is English, and we can in the options, we can specify a bunch of things. In particular, I could say weekday. Now, I didn't just know that, I had to look up in the documentation. Weekday is one of the things that's mentioned explicitly in the documentation, and the values it can take are long and short, and probably other things as well, but let's take a look at that. And it's telling me that is Wednesday, and that's dead handy. It works in English. If I wanted it in French, I think I can do that too. Yeah, isn't that cool? Someone went to a lot of work to produce that kind of stuff, and I think it would be insulting not to use it. Let's take that copy, and we'll use that. We're going to use that here. Boom. So, new date, comma. What's this thing here? That's got to be d.date. The other stuff was actually working fine. I don't know why I changed it. Let's leave it how it was, d.date, that was. And that one there, we can do better. This one here, d.date. So I'm kind of mixing stuff up here. I'm using the string format, I'm using the other one. This one I should be able to replace. I bet I can get the month name out long. Let's go English, and I want month long, and I'm guessing now, but I'm guessing right. Okay, so instead of doing that, I can do the slightly neater, not slightly neater, hugely neater, DTD dot to locale string. What do I want? I want it in English, and I want month and long. It's not easy. This stuff, the documentation on this is really quite difficult to read, but it's there and it works. Well, Chrome will be the judge of whether it works. It's looking good. Okay, so I've got that there. What have I got to put on as well? I've got to put on an @ sign, I seem to recall. Let's just see there. Tuesday, I want @ and then I want the time. So let's put in the @ sign. And let's put in the time, which d.date dot substra. So the time starts at, well, let's have a look. Here it is. Goodness me, that's 4, 7, 10, 11, 12. So starting at character 12 for 5 characters. That should pick out the date. That's date.substring. Okay. Let's try that. Okay, I was wrong. That's not 12, it must be 11. Trial and error programming. You can't beat it. Alright, reload. Okay, and that's weird. Why have I got the colon at the end? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's got to be 5 characters. And I've asked for 6. That's better. Okay, reload. Perfect. Boy, that was a lot of work. I picked it out. I don't like that leading one, but I'm not going to fix that. Next video, we'll talk about how to make this table a bit bigger.